Today I want to talk about hop downy mildew, which is a problem more in the wetter climates of like Oregon than it is here in central Washington, but we do have a problem. And this field here is CTZ. It does have downy all year. We've been fighting it. We haven't really been able to totally control it, but downy is a disease that's inborn within the roots. And once it gets going and established, it's hard to control, and there is some tricks to controlling it. Basal burnback will get rid of the lower spikes, and there's some spikes in here which we'll look at. And then once it gets on the string, the downy gets on the string and starts climbing, usually the only way to control that is to break off that shoot that's on the string with downy, and then you have to train over it. We've seen years here in our area where the downy has gotten so bad we've almost lost fields if we have the wrong conditions. But normally here, our climate is fine for downy mildew. Even today, which is mid-July, we still have fields that aren't burned back that have downy shoots, but they're not doing anything because we're in the heat of the summer now. So I wanted to show a couple things. Is over here, as you can see, there are some downy spikes. Like right here. But then we also have it up the string in this field. And it's not so bad that we have the downy spikes, which you can see there is some, and some plants are worse than others, but it's when it climbs the string that becomes a bigger problem for us. We have several control methods we can use for downy mildew, and we usually use those in the early spring, and usually later in the summer when it's not as big of a problem, we go to a slight different program. But overall, we try to control it when it's in the spike form, which you'll see in the basal growth. And usually by this time of year, most fields we have it fairly controlled, but it still is a big problem. So you can see right here, this plant has several spikes, and they're really brittle. They break off really easy. They just fall off. But there's several spikes here. This is what we don't want to get to. And another way to tell if it's active or not is by looking at the underside of the leaf where you see the black spores. And that's under a 20x hand lens. It's really easy to see if it's active or if it's not active. In this field here, there's some control, but there's still lots of active downy. In our climate where it's going to be hot today, it's probably not a big deal. However, if we got wrong conditions or we had rain, this can sporulate up to the vine and we'd have a big mess. Downy is one thing that's really obvious, as you can tell by the color of it, it becomes a lime green. You can see it on the leaf here. It's a really lime green color. You turn that over and you can see spores. They're having some control in here. But you can see right in here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of black spores that are still active in here. And there's plenty of spikes throughout this whole field. Here's another prime example of just, in my opinion, under the right conditions, this could really explode. We got spores all over in here. All this stuff is all downy mildew spores. Some of that's controlled, but I can see some of it is not controlled. This right here, you can see the difference between, let me find a leaf, maybe this one and this one. If you look at those two leaves, you can see there's still active downy right there. And this leaf in particular, which is out on the end, there's just plenty of active spores right there. So this is, under the right conditions, this is a problem.